So I'm going to show you how to make this neighborhood of roofs. We're going to start off with the front gabled house, and then we're going to tweak it to be the cross gabled. So for the front gabled house, I'm going to draw a rectangle to begin with. And then I'm going to push pull it. Now notice I don't care about the sizes right now. So I'm just making it any size, but I'm trying to make it relative to the woman. I don't want to make it a really tiny or really huge. So, but don't worry too much about the scale or the sizes to begin with. Once you got your 3D box, to make the roof gable, you take your pencil tool, you go to the middle of one of the edges, and you'll see that it says midpoint and a light blue dot appears. Click once, then move your mouse up. So be careful that you're going directly up. Right now I'm not going directly up. I know I'm going directly up when it says on blue axis and the line turns blue, because I know blue is in the Z direction or the up direction. However tall I want to have the roof, I click, and then I make a little triangular gable by clicking on these endpoints. Now that I have the triangular gable, I don't need that center line anymore. That was just for me to get to go up straight from the middle. So I can erase that and push pull the edge, match it up to the back, and now I have my front or side gabled house. Once I have my front or side gabled house, I can now start on some of the other houses. So if I look at my blueprint here for all the different houses, I did the front gabled. To do the cross gabled, you start with a front gabled and then you have this little extension come out. So I'm going to actually copy this. I could select the whole thing by putting a box window around it using the arrow select tool, or I can triple click. That also selects everything. And I'll show you how to copy later, but the basic steps is to click on the move button, press Control once, and you see the little plus shows up, and then you can copy your house. Okay? If you need help with that, I'll show you where the videos for copying are later. Now to draw the cross gabled, I'll start with the section that comes out, maybe like there, and I'll push pull this rectangle out. And now to do that's a little bit too far, so I'll do it like that. To do the cross gable, go up again and make this little gable. Then I erase, then I push pull into my other house, and there I have my cross gable. To show you some of the other ones, the gambrel. The gambrel is, again, you can start with the front gable and tweak it. So to do the gambrel, I will select this original house, copy it by clicking on the move tool and then pressing Control once, the little plus shows up, copy it, zoom out. To do the gambrel, what you can do is go from midpoint to midpoint on the edges of the roof like this. And now I have these lines drawn. But if I select the line, use the move tool, I can move this line out. This is not the only way to do the gambrel. There's many different ways to do the gambrel. Let me select the other line. Click on the move tool and move it out. And gambrel is kind of like a barnyard. So we've done the cross gable, the front gable, the gambrel. Now I'll show you how to do the hipped, mansard, and pavilion hipped. They're a little bit different, but actually pretty easy as well. So we'll start with the mansard. Sure. I'll draw a rectangle. For my house. Push pull it. So now I have this rectangle, and if I look at the drawing for the mansard, I'm going to do a different technique this way. I'm going to imagine I'm looking straight down from the top view, looking down on the mansard. What would I see if I looked straight down on the top? Well, I think I'd see this flat top of the mansard roof. So I'll go in and I'll pick my rectangle tool and I'll draw right on the surface there a flat rectangular top. That's what I would see. What else would I would see? I would see these edges coming out from the flat top. So I'll go back to my SketchUp and I'll use my pencil tool and I'll draw these edges of my roof like this. So if I look straight down on the mansard roof, I'd see something like that. But right now it's just flat. I need it to be 3D. So now what I can do, SketchUp lets me do some neat things, like I can click on the top of what will be my mansard roof. I've selected that surface. Then click the Move tool. Then click on the surface here again. I'm going to click on one of the endpoints of the mansard rooftop. And I'm going to move up in the blue axis. So as I move up in the blue axis, it lifted that surface up and it brought these other surfaces of the roof with it. So that's my mansard roof. Just like that. So I can use similar techniques to do the hipped and the pavilion hipped. Whoops. I'll push pull this out to make my building, and you can see if lets me do this. And then I can click the tip, and there I have my pavilion hipped. To do my regular hipped, similar. Let's draw another house. And I'm not putting them in a row anymore just to do it faster. But I'd like for you to put them in a row. Maybe I'll push pull that and move it so it's in a row. There. Okay. And to do the other type, there's a couple ways to do it actually. You could draw it in again like I did. So I could draw what it would look like from the sky, from the top view. It would look something like that. And then I can select that line and move it along the blue axis. And there I have my pavilion hip. And I'm doing these really fast, but you can go over them and do them slowly while you watch the videos, or you can try doing them yourself. There's many ways to do each of the roofs. For example, I could take, to get this hipped style roof, I could have started off with one of my front or side gabled and used the Move tool to move one of the corners in. Why isn't it letting me? Let's try again. It usually lets you do that. Let's try it again. There we go. You can move one of the edges in like that. And that gives you hipped. Or if you go all the way to the very corner, you get your pavilion hipped. To get your salt box, let me go back to the regular front styled home, and this is the last one. The salt box one is 2 stories in the front and 1 story in the back. That's what a salt box is. So that's pretty easy to do. I can imagine this is 2 stories right here, and to make this 1 story, I just move that straight down, and then I can erase these like that, and that's my salt box home. 2 stories on one side, 1 story on the other. Once you've done all 8 houses, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be making scenes for the houses and videos. So how do you create your scenes? Again, you can follow along with me, or you can watch the video later. You can click on Window, Scenes, and you'll see blank. There's no scenes right now. So scenes are kind of like pages or slides in a PowerPoint. So I click on the plus, and I'm going to add How many scenes? Well, the instructions say you have 8 homes, and you have to create scenes for each of the homes, plus an initial scene showing all the homes. So what you're going to have to do is create 9 total scenes. I'm going to go to the first scene, and the first scene I'm going to call it intro, and that scene will show all the houses. My scene 2 will show my first house. In this case, my first house is a salt box. Doesn't really matter the order you put them in. So your first house might be something else. I'm going to click salt box. And then my next house looks like a cross gabled. I'll only do 3 of them here. So I'll do cross gabled. So I've labeled the scenes. Press enter. So now up here, if you notice, let me dock this toolbar. You can see that I see intro, saltbox, cross gabled, and the other scenes I haven't labeled yet. If I click on intro, I want to be able to see all my houses. So I zoom out so I can see all my houses. Once I have a nice view for my intro, I right click and say update. Now I go to saltbox. For saltbox, I want to zoom in and just see my salt box. So I'm going to use the pan tools. I'm going to scroll my wheel here to zoom in, and there I see a good view of my salt box, maybe like that. If you see a little piece of the other house, it's okay, but you want to primarily look at the salt box. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to label my salt box by clicking on this ABC text tool. If you don't have this toolbar, you can go to View, Toolbars, and make sure you've selected the large tool set. I'm going to select the ABC, click on the roof. Right now it's labeled as 500 square feet. That's the surface area of that part of the roof. So you need to know how many shingles you want to buy for the roof. This will tell you. But we're not going to use the area. That's the default text. We're going to type in our own text. We're going to type in salt box. So you're going to label all your roof styles so I know that you know which type each house is. Once you got your view correct, you're going to right click and update. Now you can click on cross gabled. Now cross gabled doesn't show anything. I have to zoom into cross gabled. So I see cross gabled nice and big. Label it again. Type in cross gabled. You can move it if it's in the way. You can move it around. So that's my cross gabled. When you're ready to save that scene, you right click and on top of the scene, or in the scenes manager you click on this little circular tool that says update scenes, or you can right click and click update. So I updated the salt box, so it goes back to the salt box. Now I updated the cross gable, it goes to the cross gable. If I click on the intro, it takes me to everything. So you do that for all your houses, and when you're done, you can play your whole video by saying play animation, and it'll actually start with your first scene, then zoom in to each of your houses one by one. And instead of a PowerPoint where it just shows static slides, it actually shows you the transitions as you move and rotate. The other scenes are all the same, so that's why it's not doing anything right now. Once you're done with all your scenes and you've tested them and they look good, you can go File, Export Animation, and save it in your folder as a video. Save it in the default resolution for now, but later when you're ready, when it looks good, you want to upload it to your website. I recommend changing the resolution to 960 by 720. In other words, tripling the width to 960. That makes your video come out better when we put it up on your website. One last thing, I noticed that in the instructions it says the initial scene should have your title, your name, your class period, and your date. So if you go to this initial scene, you can click on the ABC tool, and instead of clicking on a house, just click anywhere in space and type in your name. Please put only your first name, because this is going on the web and maybe you don't want to be that public and have your first and last name, so you can just put your first name and the class, the period, and the date. If you want the text to be bolder, you can always right-click, edit text. Wait, no, wrong one. Entity info, and change the font and the size. You could change even the color to be a different color. All right, I think that's the end.